Hello everyone, this is Cyber Gaming with another gameplay explained video. This is for Mina the Hollower, this recent lovely indie game that has come out that has a lot of like RPG tropes. As always, I like to actually start by showing the controls, but they're actually pretty hard to kind of read here, so I'll just show them real quick here, but I'll explain what the gameplay is in a second. Before I go any further, please like and subscribe, it is appreciated for the video. Alright, so real quick here, for example, here I am using different weapons. There's different weapons that you pick up to start. You have the dual blades, you here have the whip, which is one of the main weapons, or you can have like a hammer. And this will basically be slower, but it'll hit harder. You get to pick them at the very beginning, at least one of them. Don't worry about it though, you can actually acquire the others at the shop, at the town later on. Here I am just showing that you can actually get that and other weapons as you progress through the adventure. So what is this game? Basically, this is kind of like a Legend of Zelda / Castlevania hybrid with like Dark Soul elements. So it's basically top-down action adventure, pretty indie looking a bit title, but it's very robust in terms of its mechanics. So don't be fooled by the graphics. It's a very deep game. So one of the main mechanics of this game is that you can actually burrow underground, like you see me do here. So that's basically at the very beginning, you're gonna be trained to, hey, you can burrow under the ground. You can basically then go underneath things and grab them from below. And things are gonna be under the ground to attack, to capture things. And you can also attack enemies like you see right there. But here I am, for example, burrowing. You can basically grab a rock and you can use that, for example, like a bomb, if you will, in Legend of Zelda. So again, you're gonna see a lot of elements like that. Obviously, sometimes you can burrow and not go through things. That's because, for example, you actually need to unlock that area. So how do? You can also jump, right? So basically I'm jumping here, and don't worry about it falling down the pit. You're basically gonna restart in that little area where you were at. But yeah, there is jumping mechanics, there is burrowing mechanics, so it adds this little complexity to the game. Another thing you can do, you can level up. It has RPG mechanics, as I mentioned, so as you progress, fight enemies, you're gonna unlock these bones, which is basically currency, and you're basically gonna be using them to level up. So as you capture a bunch of bones, you basically be able to level up one of your main things, which is like your attack, your defense, and your magic, if you will, or sidearms. And I'll go over that in a quick second. And here I am, for example, leveling up. You unlock bones, you level up a little, and you're gonna basically leveling up as you go. Here I am a little bit later in the game, where I bone up or level up, and you can basically kind of see how it gets more expensive as it goes along. Another thing is there are checkpoints throughout the stages, so you can go here and there's this little hub that the game gives you, which is like the underlab, and you basically can just stay there, and that's your kind of like home base. So every time you see like a checkpoint activated, you can go in there. Here's the pause menu, and one of the things I wanted to kind of mention is the sidearms. And again, there's different other things, you can equip different trinkets, etc. But sidearms, it's one of the main things that you will do. Is basically your secondary weapon, right? That uses a little bit of mana. If, for example, here I have a little dagger that goes back and forth, very classic, like things like from Castlevania. You can find other things here, like the mist jar, which basically allows me to like teleport, and there's a bunch of other different ones that are smoke, right? That I can basically leave an area so that it'll damage enemies. And here I'm hidden them behind a wall, and there's a bunch of sidearms throughout the game, and you're gonna be able to unlock them, etc., etc. So I'm not gonna go over all of them. This is too much. Another thing you can do is find different trinkets, I think that they're called. And basically you're also gonna have potions, right? Keys to find, etc., etc. And you can basically unlock great little small builds, but it's a relatively simple game. For example, here I found the key, I unlocked the area, and I move forward. So here I am basically going around the open world, fighting these enemies. This enemy right now, for example, does a silent AoE. You probably don't want to barrel around him, etc. And this enemy basically is a flying enemy, so even if you attack, you're gonna have to jump and attack at the same time. And these are the kind of things that you're going to see throughout the open world in terms of combat. There's different little puzzles here, like these little mechanics that I'm going to have to go barrel under the ground. And if I go south, for example, here I am, I found a cave, and you can jump around, find different things. Here I am inside another cave, and you can basically move around these jumping platforms to basically jump and bounce and unlock different things. Again, just a pretty intrinsic open world Zelda-like game. It does have shortcut mechanics and other things like that. For example, here I lowered a rope to give myself a shortcut. And again, very basic tropes that you will see. And I'm here talking to an NPC. Speaking of NPCs, the game does have a hub world. It has a large, basically open world. kind of like a little bit of like a 8-bit Breath of the Wild. And in the middle of the map, you're going to be talking to different NPCs. There's going to be different quests. For example, this guy doesn't let me into the house, right? Because I'm no hollowers allowed. So you're going to have to figure out how to get into that house and unlock different things. And there's a bunch of quests as you talk to different NPCs. We just wanted to show the high-level basics. For example, this guy wants me to dig up these graves, and he gives me a key. Another thing you will see from the game is obviously boss battles. As we talked about, as I mentioned, it's kind of like a Souls-like a little bit. So you will find bosses, and they'll have different mechanics, different things that you patterns to memorize, etc., etc. For example, this guy here, he's very early on in the game. He leaves these little mines. You want to kind of avoid them, and you're basically going to have to figure out how to fight them to make sure that you go through the bosses. And there's checkpoints, etc. Another thing I wanted to show is modifiers. Modifiers is a way for the game to allow you to kind of modify the gameplay how you see fit. You want to make it harder on you, you can. You want to make it easier for you, you can. You can make it relatively extremely easy where falling down pits doesn't take any damage. For example, here I activated that, and now I'm falling down the pit, and I don't take any damage. And I was like, you know what? I would prefer that because I've been falling a lot recently. And I'll say this, the game is no pushover. The game is actually quite challenging, so feel free to use those modifiers as you see fit to kind of help you out. Yeah, but with that, that's mostly what I wanted to show for this video. I wanted to show a very quick gameplay overview. And with this, I would like to thank everybody for watching. Again, quick overview of what Mina the Hollower gameplay is like. As always, please like and subscribe, it is appreciated. And have a good one, everyone.